Well, this is our very first 13th episode, and it's very,
Uh,
very special. We have invited a esteemed esports a journalist, one of Inven Global's finest. It is Nick Geracie joining us as a special guest on the podcast. Hey, Nick, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm pretty good. Thank you guys for having me.
Hey, man, of course.
for sure.
Now, to anyone listening, they have heard me and Eric describe our job a million times. I'm the director of corporate strategy at Inven Global. Eric is known as Mr. Moneybags. That's what we're calling him lately. He's the business manager. Wait, is it not true that in a meeting today, the CEO of this company called you the master of money?
Yeah, I guess he did.
Wow.
See, he did. So I just want to say Eric, a.k.a. the master of money. That's his new name. But, Nick, why don't you tell us about your Inven global journey, right? Like, how did you start with us? What do you do, and what's it like?
Well, I got my start with Inven Global as a freelancer when I was freelancing for a bunch of publications, primarily with the LCS here in Los Angeles, as well as the Overwatch League when it was still at Blizzard Arena, secondarily speaking. And from there, eventually I became a full-time editorial member, primarily writing about, once again, League of Legends and LCS, but also some other stuff, a lot of Valorant lately, which I know we're going to talk about soon. So,
Oh yeah.
but it's pretty much for me, it's a lot, it's content, like staying as plugged in as possible, with everything. And I guess in terms of specifically, I'd say my primary focus is with League of Legends esports, and just because we're here, the LCS, but also coordinating with our teams who cover Europe's LEC and Korea's LCK and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and just so you all know that Nick isn't just making all of this up. I first met Nick, I believe it was it the Overwatch League press room, or was it before that?
It was the Overwatch League press room, I think it was
season
week
one.
2. It was real early.
really
season 1. Yeah.
It was really early, and I just want to say, Nick Geracie, man, when it comes to being in the press room, is a hard-working dude. If you've ever been around an esports tournament, you guys know there's tons of action, there's tons of stuff going on. And I remember I wanted to work with Nick because I saw that he was the only one other than me I'm running around with his head cut off, right? There's so much work to be doing. If you're not actively typing, furiously as a match is going on, it's like there's something wrong. So anyways, Nick, we're very, very happy to have you on the show. And actually, before we go, I just want to give a quick shout out to Inven Global. If you are watching this on our stream, you will see our Who We Are page. This is a cool little page that I'm proud of. It's finally up and online, and it just shows about all what we do. We are an esports company who does tons of events. We do tons of consulting. We do all sorts of fantastic things. So you guys can check that out at invenglobal.com/whoweare, because I'm sure that's what you want to do. You want to read about our company. That being said, speaking of companies, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Hyperx. I swear every single week I talk about this mic and these headphones, but they really are so good. And you can see Eric has got the same mic, and it's
I do.
crystal clear. Nick, do you have one of these great HyperX mics yet?
Yeah, I mean, I got the headphones here, and I got the Hyperx mic over here. You can't see it.
There you go. Put it in frame. Okay, whatever. It's in frame. We just want to give a huge shout out. HyperX is a fantastic partner, and they make sure we're all stocked with all the greatest gear when it comes to this stuff. So thank you, HyperX.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, HyperX. Next,
Thank you, Hyperx.
Nick, you're new, so I'll have you start. On this podcast, we start by saying what games we've been playing. Lately. So, Nick Geracie, what games have you been playing lately?
Well, it's a relatively boring answer depending on where you come from, but it's been pretty much for me nothing but Stardew Valley. Normally, I'd mix in a lot more, League of Legends that I cover, all that good stuff. But really, with the playoffs going on, I've just been so busy with the actual work of League of Legends. It's been a really good mental break to just kind of, walk around and plant some crops and stuff, especially since we can't, we're not really able to go outside in the real world. So
Yeah.
Stardew Valley has been it's been definitely a really nice change of pace.
That's cool, man. I was
Stardew
not expecting that. I thought it was just going to be League.
Right? That's the usual answer.
I was actually reading an interview about the guy who made Animal Crossing, and I know that they're completely different games, but they're not. They came from the same Harvest Moon-esque world in which isn't it fun to just be simple and make crops. But he said that his inspiration for creating Animal Crossing was he moved into a new city and he was lonely. So he made a game about what if you move into a new city and you aren't lonely. And I think it's a really good, companion game for the quarantine we're in.
I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Yeah. So shout outs to Stardew Valley. I guess I'll go next. I've been playing tons of Valorant, just tons of Valorant.
Right.
I've actually been working on a column about how I'm in like a love-hate relationship with Valorant. As in, I love the game, but there's this hipster part of me that hates how popular it is, and I can't help but feel that part of the reason it's so popular is because it's so popular. Does that make any sense? There's many people playing Valorant, and you can tell, and it's like they had no interest in CSGO. CSGO has been around forever. Counter-Strike has always been a great game, and now that it's the new hotness, it's just FOMO. And a part of me has always disliked buying into FOMO, and the way that Valorant did their whole, a closed beta, it's like, all right, how many people are playing this game because it's the new hotness and they want something to talk about on social media? Am I right? Other than that, I've actually been desperately trying to play Street Fighter Third Strike. I need a fighting game fix. I am getting very lonely not being able to play fighting games. So I know there's a way that I can set it up on my computer. But if you know anything about the stream quality, I am not the most technical person. So it's been kind of a struggle trying to get this set up. But that's what I hope to report next week when we have our podcast, that I've only been playing Street Fighter Third Strike. That's
very
me.
nice.
And Eric, what about you, my man?
So I got into Hitman 2 over the weekend. It was like a free Humble Bundle game that I just picked up like a month ago. And I finally dove into that. I was just kind of overwhelmed at first because there's just like so much to that game, and I get so obsessive about like checking out all the objectives and missions and stuff in that game, because you can just play a single level for like 25 hours or something just checking out. Like one of the maps that I was playing had like 153 objectives that you can complete or something, and it's all like these different ways of like killing people and like all these things, like dress up as the waiter and then serve like a rat to the target or something, and it just like goes on and on. I spent like 10 hours on like a single map this weekend, just like doing everything that I could.
If there was
completionist fantasy.
If there was one thing I've learned about Eric, is he's a real gamer. I'm a fake gamer. I don't nearly put in the amount of time or dedication. But Eric, no, man. When he finds a game he likes, he dives into it with gusto. So doesn't surprise me.
And when I'm not being super obsessive about Hitman, I'm being super obsessive about Animal Crossing, because I've finally taken the plunge in like terraforming my entire island. So I'm like, I'm destroying rivers. I'm like destroying mountains. I just want like clean slate of my entire island. I'm putting all my houses in like a corner and like putting a fence around it. I was like, you just stay there until I know what to do with you.
So, so you can just build whatever you, man. The more I hear about Animal Crossing, the more I realize that I've missed the boat. I'm too late in the game. I've never played Animal Crossing. I can't.
I'm surprised. It seems like so much your type of game, like creatively speaking.
Like, it's not like you're versing anybody.
The thing is,
it's not like there's
but you are.
Skill set.
But you are. And by the way, this is an idea for another column I have to remember. You are, because the quarantine has stopped us from all going outside and image crafting like we used to, because we're all this weird generation born on social media, except for Eric, because Eric doesn't have social media and it's the greatest thing about him. I mean, yes, he does, but he just barely uses it. He's not nearly as addicted to it as I am. Yeah. But because we all can't sit there and image craft, I swear to God, people are image crafting via Animal Crossing. They are. They're showing off their turnip stocks. They're showing off how much bells they have. And they're showing off their outfits and how cool their little room is because it's all one big social hierarchical system, and I don't want to buy into it. So I'm too late. I don't want to play Animal Crossing because if I do, I'm going to be the guy on Twitter sharing all these little, photos of my I can't. I just can't do it.
I would argue that there's never been a better time to get into Animal Crossing, especially this game. Like, now that the initial hype is kind of passed over us, the hardcore people are still, at it, doing their thing. But I mean, some people are so far along now. Like, if you just come in, like, you can have whatever you want, like every fruit. You can have like furniture,
Yeah, I guess you're right.
People are gonna want to help you out.
Are you saying that if I play, you'd carry me? Is this what you're saying?
I carry you. Yeah,
you're
exactly.
offering this?
I feel like also just like because of like Animal Crossing coming out right when like most of the lockdowns, worldwide happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this Animal Crossing compared to previous installments has really like hit the culture on a new level. Like, I read a Washington Post article today, and the whole thing was it was about Mark Hoppus, the bassist for, punk rock band Blink-182. It was just about a deep dive of his farm. Like, that article wouldn't have come out this year and any other time. I feel like it's really kind of elevated it to the forefront in terms of the social experience Eric is talking about.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's cool, man. I've been tempted to just like binge like those little walking tours of everybody's towns and stuff, but I don't want it to like freak me out or like, oh, I'm just going to steal this part from this town and steal this part from this town. I just kind of want to like feel it out on my own. So I've got like this giant monolith in the middle of my island now with like waterfalls, and I got the museum at the top of it and the town center at the bottom of it.
Wait a minute, Eric, are you like a sociopath and you're living out your god complex?
Kind of, yeah. Well, I like to think of it as building the ultimate resort, but it might be like the ultimate fucking like concentration camp or something. I don't know.
I think, Eric, I cannot wait to see your island and like you somehow like managed to make this giant golden like statue of you. And you've set up every single house and that they're all like in worship of you. You know what? Actually, now that I think about it, this game sounds pretty cool. I would love to do something like that.
Dude, it's cool.
As the resident sociopath of Inven Global, that definitely sounds up my alley.
I went to my friend's island the other day, and he found this website where you can just upload pictures, memes, and stuff, and then it'll like generate a code for you. You use that code to like print out something, and then you can just have memes all over your island if you really want to.
That's how people are doing that.
Yeah. So apparently it's super easy. I don't want to be like Meme Lord Island or something. I'm trying to
keep it original.
Trying to keep it clean. Yeah.
I saw a Twitter thread that I don't think it was. He didn't focus on memes. Let's just say he focused on well-drawn adult Japanese content. And it was,
it's kind of a meme, right?
Yeah, I suppose that's a meme. Anyways, let's get on with the topic. We could talk about Animal Crossing all day, but that's pretty much what we do when we're not on this podcast. But our first topic is what you guys see on the screen now. Aimbot hacking has made its way into Valorant. So, first of all, there's so many interesting, I guess, angles to first look at this. The one is, wasn't Riot extremely confident this wouldn't happen? Didn't they say that we're taking every single measure, and wasn't that a big part of their PR that this game wouldn't be filled with hacks? Seems like it is. Nick, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing it when it initially happened. It was on a stream of this up and coming streamer Golden Hands 7, and his teammate clutched out this insane 1v4. Just could never have known they would have been there otherwise, right?
Yeah.
And while I do think that there's validity to what you're saying, I also think that part of the idea is that, hey, we're being pretty transparent with how we run this closed beta phase, because then if security things come up like this, then they can figure them out before they actually affect the actual game. As a longtime Gears of War player, I'm well aware of the opposite approach. So I think this is the lesser of two evils in that context, personally.
We actually have the clip here. I'm just gonna play it on stream. All right, that was good. Okay, you're shooting through the walls there.
Yeah, maybe a little too loud.
Oh, that is loud. Okay. Well.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. You have it. It's pretty obvious hacking, especially. Oh my God.
Oh, what? Did I
Okay.
hear something?
Oh, okay, that's enough. That's enough. But okay, so obviously this hacking is rampant. I just want to focus on this part right here. This is the funniest part when the wall goes up and the guy's crosshair perfectly
Yeah.
tracks their head
It's
as
crazy.
it goes up. I mean, come on, it's just so blatant.
Yeah.
And I think I always knew that there would be hacking in Valorant because if there's one thing that I've learned from my time in esports is that like you just don't challenge hackers and like you just always assume like if you can code it then they can break it, right? That's like a pretty safe thing to do. But
Yeah.
this seems pretty quick. We're still like in the beta. Now that's a positive aspect of it, right? I'm in the beta, so that means they can figure this out. But I have some theories on how potentially this may be happening, but I'd first want to open it up to you, Eric, because Nick had his piece, but I'm curious what you think. Do you think that this is going to affect the hype around Valorant?
Not in like a giant way, I don't think. I mean, a couple of like closed cases like here and there. I mean, I think it's just par for the course at this point. I'm not super surprised. I will say, with all this talk about, our anti-cheat system is like unpenetrable, and
Yep.
we have to be constantly running it on your computer like the entire time. It's just
And they
safety
offered
measure.
a $100,000 bounty.
Yeah. So I don't know, like all this clout that they're throwing around, and just to have like this happen like 2 weeks in, it's kind of a sour note. Maybe not so much if they didn't do this, because I was kind of researching into like what other companies typically pay for
Yep.
people coming out front about like security breaches and stuff, and it's nowhere near like $100,000.
Really?
Like to a single person, no way.
So
Yeah, the most I
yes.
saw was like 50,000 maybe, and
So
that was
Riot's
we're talking
definitely
like
flexing.
Facebook, we're talking about like Microsoft.
Yeah.
So I think it's just kind of like, oh yeah, we'll pay you like $100,000. Like, there's no way you're gonna find like security breaches in our system.
I
Like,
mean, $100,000 is just a drop in the bucket. Like, not even remotely
yeah,
close. So yeah, you're right. Personally, I think I know what's going on here with this hack, and this is only because I've also tried to do my own reading and try to understand what's happening. So apparently, CS:GO and other games, the most common type of hack is one that doesn't work from far away. Like it doesn't work from far away, and I think Valorant's decision to like have it so the character doesn't exist until you see them. That's like a real thing, and that's a real benefit. So wall hacks don't work in that way. However, what I'm seeing on this clip we showed, I was reading about a hack that existed in CS:GO, and it only like activated when you were a certain close proximity from each other. So it seems as if kind of the hype about you don't exist until you're seen. This makes me question that because if you don't exist until you're literally visible on the other player's screen, I don't understand how this hack could be tracking you behind walls and stuff. Unless this is just another modified version of the hack that does work in CS:GO, that when you get to a certain level or whatever, a certain proximity. So I don't know. If anyone has any more technical acumen on this, by all means, let us know.
I mean, I might be completely wrong about this, but I think how most of these cheats work is like you're stealing information from your opponents, basically. So obviously their characters exist while they're playing them.
Yeah.
So that whole thing with like, oh, they don't exist until you see them, that kind of gets thrown out the window when you're taking like everybody's information into account.
Yeah.
So.
And also, like, I'd have to add, I'm probably wrong and Riot's probably right. As in, yes, I'm sure that they're like I guarantee that you do not exist until they're seen, just like Riot said. But in terms of PR, like it doesn't look that way. So that was one of their biggest selling points, and I do think that as this type of stuff makes the rounds, I don't know. I think it's a pretty heavy blow, especially considering some of the other news we have to get going. But before we move on from this, Nick, as someone who is very, very aware of how important competitors and esports fans take, take integrity. If you had to give your best estimate, 1 out of 10, 1 being this isn't an issue, Riot's going to fix it, 10 being this is huge, why would anyone want to play this game? Where do you rank this?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put it at like basically a 5 because of the way you described the criterion. I think it's the kind of thing that Riot can easily fix, but that doesn't mean there aren't like there's a long-term ripple effect in terms of, you know, how, like you said, how boastful, how confident they were recently in, you know, their anti-cheat software and all of that stuff. And you know, rest assured, I think like even if there's not direct like connotations for like reasons for concern, I still think that there will be, you know, there's a ripple effect in terms of how people receive this, you know, based on their previous approach and their tone for the stance.
Yeah, a quote from Riot Games say that the bottom line is that they would never let Riot ship anything if they weren't confident it was treated player privacy and security with extreme seriousness and all this. So, you know, obviously they're playing some catch up in terms of making sure people are okay, but I guess only time will tell.
It's the like. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Eric. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just reading an article today that was basically, I think they're like popping up all over the place now, but that Call of Duty Warzone game mode that came out pretty recently, apparently cheating is very rampant across the board. And the problem with that in particular is there's crossplay between consoles and PCs. So basically, like console players are being forced to turn off like cross playability because the PC cheating is so rampant.
Really?
So just like in comparison, you know, it seems like Call of Duty is like way behind Riot in terms of giving a shit ability, I guess.
Oh, and speaking of games that are way behind Riot in terms of giving a shit ability, which is now a phrase we will use many times on this podcast. This news actually just broke. Like this, we like just wrote this, like 4 hours ago? There's been a major source code leak within Valve games, including Team Fortress 2 and CSGO, and they even say potentially others. Now, this potentially others is because any game that was made off of the source engine from 2018, I mean, technically could be like at breach. So just a real quick explanation of this. Twitter user Nikki Etstein, he or she was kind of the first to like report this in a PSA on Twitter. Says, do not play TF2 or CSGO. Someone leaked the source code. And then if you dig a little more, it originally happened on a 4chan thread, which, I mean, of course, right? In which they were warning people, hey, you know, apparently this thing has happened. And from what I've been reading, it's a story of revenge. It's a story of a wronged person trying to get back at Valve and get back at the TF2 community.
Yeah, I saw that image at the beginning of the article, and I was like, wow, that is like...
Yeah, it's serious.
That is some intentional bullshit.
And can you imagine if you were the one who were playing the game and you saw that? You were like, oh my god, like what? Like, it's such an invasion of like not only your privacy, but it's just so scary, especially when they're saying that this leak is so bad that it could actually have access to very sensitive data on your PC. So, I mean, this story literally just happened. We're going to be like reporting more on it as it happens. But the thing that I think is the most kind of the worst news on this is that it affects CS Go, or is this a CS source? CSGO too. So, and CSGO is having a really like positive a couple months. It's been doing very well on Twitch. It's been doing very well just in terms of overall engagement of its tournaments and its streamers. And all of a sudden you have something like this. Who knows how big this news was spread? But I'm certainly not going to be playing CSGO anytime soon. Nick, have you had a chance to read up on this? What do you think?
I think it's just like kind of it's not to make light of it. It's almost a little ironic given just the main conversation in the Valorant community is like, you know, these type of these type of this is exactly like the worst case scenario people would fear would happen regardless, which is why it's, all the more important for, Riot to be able to back up their words in terms of, if you can handle everything, make sure you handle everything. Because CSGO's been a title for almost a decade now, and this stuff can still happen.
And Team Fortress 2 was apparently already like littered with hackers and cheats, because like that game hasn't been updated, and I doubt they really support it that much. But apparently, Team Fortress 2 is even more unsecure. So I think this is a sad day for esports, because like TF2 is such a legacy game. Like this community has been around for so long. Some of the Overwatch League talent you know and love, some of the Apex Legends fraggers, they got their start in TF2, and it appears that this hacker's intent was to kill a TF2. They were like, the game's dead, don't play it.
Like there was no estimate on how long it's going to take to get this back up, right? They just said until further notice or something.
Well,
not we're looking into it, things should be up and running within the next hour or two.
I mean, we hope to get those updates. We hope to get
really severe.
Right now, all of the most popular TF2 community servers like creators.tf and Red Sun, they have indefinitely ceased running their servers, and they are taking it very seriously, and they're urging all of their fans and all of their players to just not play these games. So bad day for Valve. You got some egg on your face there, but hopefully you're able to fix it. Moving on, our next topic. This is kind of why we brought in Nick Geracie, our League of Legends expert. I've heard that there was some pretty big League news that happened, right? Something about some little victory and some small tournament, something, right? I don't know.
Yeah, Cloud9 won its first domestic title in 6 years. The last time they won was the 2014 NALCS Spring Playoffs. Mm-hmm. They have now secured the championship for the 2020 LCS Spring Split, which had to move online. We took a week off between week 7 and 8 of the 9-week regular season, but Cloud9 just kind of a banner spring as far as things go, just absolutely dominant. So that just happened this last weekend.
So for all of us who aren't exactly in the know, was this much of an upset, or was Cloud9 really on fire as this was happening?
I think that in terms of the context of the finals, no. I think that, Cloud9 beat FlyQuest 3-0. I think that was pretty much the most expected result. FlyQuest is a good team. Maybe could have taken the game. They didn't, right? So I do think, though, I think the context maybe surrounding it is an upset in the sense of, Cloud9 was expected to be good, but, Team Liquid, who was the 4-time reigning champion, really had some, seemingly had some chemistry issues in their team. Mm-hmm. They just put one of their star players, Doublelift, up on the trading blog, who's allegedly, according to a report, going to TSM now, his former team. So I think the disappearance of that power was kind of a shock, and it made Cloud9 seem all the more dominant and not having that top 2 competitor they had for the previous 8 months or so.
So I'm curious if you think that the online nature of this tournament, has that changed anything? Do you think C9 still would have been able to win if we weren't in the middle of this pandemic and they were being able to play it live in person? Do you think that's a factor at all here?
Not only do I think it's a factor, but I think it's a testament to why they won. I think that Cloud9 would have dominated regardless. I think that nobody would have come close to actually matching them, whether we were playing online, offline, whatever. Mm-hmm. But, in speaking to some of their players in the playoffs, they took this seriously. They all live in a gaming house together, so they're quarantined together, right? And they noticed a dip in their scrim. I talked to their players. They did notice a dip in their scrim performance. And they were kind of like, we need to facilitate that environment of being able to go to the LCS. So they took an entire separate room in their gaming house and made a place to facilitate the stage environment. They pick up their mouse, their keyboard, they go over there and play. And this organization just seemingly has a better approach than everybody else, is what it comes down to. And that's why they won. That's why they were so dominant.
And apparently they also broke the LCS trophy. I'm looking at a photo of that now on Twitter.
Yeah, go figure, right? It's kind of funny. Cloud9 has, even in their second, third place finishes, like I said, they haven't won a title in 6 years, but throughout that entire time, they've been undisputably the most consistent international force from a North American League of Legends, team. And when they finally win one, we're all quarantined into our houses, and they break the trophy because, of course, they did. It was almost expected, honestly. I was like, it wasn't like, oh my god, I can't believe that happened. It's like, oh yeah, of course this team did that. You know, so they're a bunch of goofy guys. They had a lot of fun. That's the thing. That team just has a ton of fun, and it's crazy that nobody seems to be able to match that right now in North America.
So, one of our other reporters, Parks, a shout out to Parks. He wrote an article from. I think he interviewed Reaper, and he has been an instrumental part in C9's victory. So I'm curious if you can maybe unpack some of these quotes for us. He
Sure.
says that, don't get me wrong, I'm happy, but I don't feel that happy. And why do you think he'd say that? I mean, didn't he just win, like the LCS? Like isn't this like the highest he could do? He's doing his best. He's doing his job the best. He then goes on to say, at the beginning, we were not that insane of a team. We had lots of problems, but we had a lot of meetings talking about the culture. That is what worked so well to make us this strong. So he kind of hints at what you were saying. They kind of like developed a new culture. But here's the T. Why is Reaper not happy?
Well, I think it's twofold. I think one, Cloud9, since Reaper became the coach in the summer of 2016, has been a very consistent international team by North American standards, the most, right? And I think that there was kind of a ticking clock on like, when is Reaper going to put together a domestic championship team? I mean, he's been a coach for this team for almost 4 years, and I think that while Cloud9 oftentimes is forgiven because of their international performances, they didn't get out of groups this year, and there was a lot of more critical talk thrown around to Reaper, who's usually the golden boy. I think he has more. I think he has more Coach of the Split awards than any other coach in the history of North American League of Legends. So the other thing is, I think that because of a lot of teams really took like Team Liquid, obviously they had their own problems, but even before then they took like a lot of time off in the offseason. Cloud9's new bot lane immediately went to Korea and started boot camping. They put more prep work in both as individuals and as a team and as an organization. Plus the other 3 guys in their team have already played together for 1 to 2 years. So I think that he's saying one, like, yes, I'm happy, but it's almost like finally, because of everything else he's accomplished, right?
Yeah.
And the other part of it is that it was such a given. I think I haven't seen this might be I would have to say this is without a doubt this was the easiest LCS finals I've ever seen to call.
Wow.
I think that again, because we didn't have like that. There's been other splits. We've had like 2 really strong 2 teams. We don't know how it's going to go, but Team Liquid's disappearance, CLG, who was a force, Clutch rebranding to Dignitas, both those teams ended up, missing playoffs entirely. It kind of made Cloud9 seem all the more dominant because really no one could match. So I think you also sort of expected it.
Man, I am really glad that we brought you on this episode, Nick. I mean,
Thank you. Me too.
You speak about League of Legends with the same fervor that Eric speaks about. God, what was that game that you kept going on about? Like, I think it was like episode 8, episode 9. That the one that you really wanted me to play. It was on your list.
Indivisible?
Yes, Indivisible. Indivisible's
great.
Yeah, it's
What's
great.
that?
Indivisible. I don't know.
It's the same people that made Skullgirls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like the same art style. It's super good.
Cool.
Like
I've never heard of that. I'll check that out.
Check it out.
Indivisible, huh? You know what?
It's got some fighting game spunk too. Yeah.
I'm looking it up
Nice.
right now, and we're going to talk about this game right now because this does look beautiful. It's hand-drawn? Hand-drawn? Oh, see,
Wow.
Dude, it took forever for this game to come out.
you did
It's
such a
dope.
bad job of selling me this game. You never said that it was
talking-
hand-drawn with these adorable little
I thought
anime
it was
characters,
drawn.
and
Of
look
course
at
The
this.
Skullgirls people are gonna put some time and effort into what their game looks
Beautiful.
like.
Yeah.
Wow,
I like this.
Indivisible.
Kickstarted. I thought it was dope.
I
thought it
love
was a dope
this.
game.
Indivisible.
They just came out with a new game plus and couch co-op too, which you can play over Steam Link.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a dope game. It was like number 4 for me last year or something.
I gotta check it out.
Nick-
I never heard of this before.
Nick, are you
Great.
are you aware of Eric's list?
I don't know if I am.
Oh,
I know you guys talked about it in one of our podcasts towards the end of the year about like your favorite games and stuff. But
So
It's
it's
just one of them.
it's by far my favorite part about Eric. you know, it's just such a systematic testament to his love of video
not my
games.
wit or my charm.
No, none of that.
It's my
None of that.
list.
For sure, it's this list. You know what? Actually, speaking of list and speaking of things that we're proud of, I'm going to take this time to kidnap the both of you and get on my soapbox about an article I wrote 2 years ago. Because I try to talk about this article constantly. These are the 4 enduring traits that every esport has in common. So think about Super Smash Bros. Melee, CSGO, your League of Legends, your Dota 2. These are the games. They're not going anywhere. Doesn't matter if the developers stop supporting them. There's always going to be a diehard community. So just checking, did any of you have a chance to listen to my lecture on this very topic this Tuesday?
I caught a bit of it. I had it on in the background while I was doing other work.
I was able to get a bit. I also read the article that you're talking about that you ended up referencing in the lecture, and I couldn't agree more with the points.
Thank you, Nick. And the reason, thank you for actually watching it. So the reason I bring this up is because today on Twitter, I got into not like a debate, but I share my esports opinions on Twitter like all the time, and I'm really interested on what you guys think about this. So my take is that every time you try to like lower the complexity and the depth of esports in an attempt to get a larger audience, you actually do the opposite. I think you end up in the long term getting a smaller audience because like what attracts people to esports is seeing like mastery, is like seeing something that is just like amazing. And then they're like, well, I want to try to be that good, or I want to at least try to get better. I think that gamers respond really well to that. And some people on Twitter didn't agree with me. And don't worry, it was a very polite discourse, but I'm curious of what you guys think. Do you think that esports can get a larger audience by kind of dumbing down the comment? Oh, sorry, not dumbing down. I'm already biased. By having simpler commentary or maybe less analysis or maybe even focusing on esports that are less less skill testing. What do you think, Nick?
Well, I'm glad you brought this up because I think that it's a really, really dimensional topic. I mean, you see a lot of this in any industry that can be ever changing. I mean, I used to work in the music industry, and you see these people who know how to check all of the boxes, but if they don't have the authenticity of a product or whatever it may be that people want to engage with, that the other things don't matter. And so I think like in terms of having a long-lasting esport, you really want to make the entry level for the game low, but leave the competitive ceiling high. And that's a very, very difficult balance. Like I'm not saying that's an easy feat by any means, but I think like if you look at a game like Fortnite, imperfect as it is, they've created a community within their IP where people can enjoy it in their own way. And that's why I think you get those disagreements of your point, because I do agree with you, but I also know you. I think you're very good at understanding competitive ceilings. I've played Melee with you. It was awesome. And I think that
sorry. Please keep going on.
No, and I think that there are now in the social era, which is something that came after like all of us started playing video games for other reasons. I don't think you need to have that competition for a game to be successful. If we're talking about esports specifically, yeah, you have to, because even within Fortnite's massive community, you have this subsection of these like teenage kids who are, first of all, incredibly good at branding themselves and know all these fancy terms. And not everybody who plays Fortnite knows what 90s are, but those kids are out there and they're mechanical gods.
Yeah. You know what? I think, Nick, I think you really nailed it. I think we are in a new social gaming. This is kind of what I was ranting about before about Animal Crossing, and like Eric was saying, I'm not late to the party. But see, I think I am late to the party because I think part of what is driving Animal Crossing is this social wave. And it's the same way if I started tweeting about a Tiger King right now. Like right now, I started watching a Tiger King and I started tweeting about it, and I started to like expect people to care. No one's gonna care. I missed that wave, And
I disagree. I don't know.
Really?
Because because I think that Tiger King is something you can watch. There's only so much discourse you can get out of it, but because of the high customization of Animal Crossing and the fact that it really is kind of a flat timeline. I
Yeah.
think that if it were a solely competitive title, if it was like a design building competition, or something like that, then yeah, maybe we're talking about a shorter shelf life. But I don't know, man. I think you could still totally jump on. I haven't got it yet.
What is the
Yeah, I feel like I can put out the same argument that I put out for Animal Crossing. It's just, that wave might have passed, but people love it so much that when a fresh face comes in and they want to talk about it, people are going to want to talk about it.
You know what?
Again.
I think that would settle it. I'm not a fresh face. I'm a crusty face. I'm an old face. I've been doing this esports stuff for too long. No one wants to hear anything I have to say about Animal Crossing. However, I will say this entire conversation has got me very interested in somehow producing the esports equivalent of a Tiger King documentary, because there's some shady stuff going on, man.
It's interesting.
There's some shady stuff. Can you imagine if we started doing mass scale interviews about what happened with H1Z1 League? And we really started doing our homework. We really started to dig around. We got some camera crews. I mean, I'm just saying, it's possible. I think you could uncover a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
first episode opens up with murder.
Yeah, murder.
Yeah, I mean, the reason the documentary is fascinating, it's not about you almost sometimes forget the cats are there because the discourse around the people and everything that's happening. You're like, is this scripted? How is this real? You know what I mean? It's
crazy.
Yeah.
Totally.
So, trying to get back on topic, I just want to please play this clip. This is probably my favorite Super Smash Bros. Melee clip ever. If we can load this, that would be beyond fantastic. But this is a clip, a vintage clip. This is Mango when he used to play Jigglypuff versus Armada, who plays Peach. Still does. Well, for some reason this isn't loading, so I'm depressed. I'm angry. I feel anxious, and nothing is going the way I want it. So let's just say I'll just explain. It's an amazing read by Mango, and he shouldn't have won this match. He was behind. But that, I think, is part of what makes this CSGO, Dota, and those other ones so great. There needs to be moments in which you can clutch. There needs to be moments in which, out of all the odds, you somehow win. And Here's the Storm doesn't have that, so the game died. Overwatch doesn't have that, so the esport is practically dead. And I think Battle Royale games don't have that either. I think this outplay potential is something that's paramount to big esports. And I could go on and on, but I just, I'm glad I got your guys' perspective on that.
Yeah, when you were talking about, developers have to really choose, whether they're going to make an accessible game or they're going to make a game that's, meant for pros.
Yep.
My first thought went to Dragon Ball FighterZ, because you can definitely get into that game the way that it's crafted. If you just mash the X button, you'll be able to do a combo.
Yep.
But if you really want to get good, you'll properly put in that combination and you'll get a damage boost for that, which I thought was cool. I thought that was really neat take on it. But yeah, I think that game also had problems with comeback mechanics not really being there, and now we see it kind of petering out a bit too, especially with Guilty Gear Strive right around the corner. The closed beta or the open beta was just this past weekend too. So
honestly, who else here has lost track of when a game goes into beta or closed beta or not? Because honestly, these games are practically launches. These are soft launches. I don't care what anyone says. Beta, no, these are just soft launches, and you're trying to get as much media as possible. And
there's so many terms being thrown around, oh, we're pre-alpha, we're pre-beta, we're in closed beta and open beta and early access, and I mean, how are you actually supposed to, measure where these games are at? I don't know.
I saw a company describe their it's an alpha phase that was pre-alpha, even more exclusive, and they call it dark alpha. And I'm like, these are movie titles at this point. This is a Transformers film. What is that?
So this is a blank screen, a computer screen that has been turned off.
What does that mean?
Black alpha is? That's stupid.
That is pretty stupid. So we're just about wrapping up the podcast today. However, I want to feature a new segment because I think segments are fun, and it's even more fun when I don't tell Nick Geracie this is happening, and I don't tell Eric, this is happening. So,
Wasn't on the outline,
Great.
Nick.
so every week, starting now, we're gonna do something called esports wins and fails. All right. So these are things that happened this week that are a win. Good job. Wow, you're definitely like winning in the game of esports. And then we're gonna have fails. It's, oh, that was a really terrible thing. You shouldn't have done that. You lose the game of esports. So because you guys weren't unprepared and I was for this topic that I just made up, I get to talk about my wins and fails. But you guys should come prepared next podcast. Jeez. So my first win, let's start with a win, is this amazing essay I read by Matthew Ball. It's called Esports and the Dangers of Serving at the Pleasure of a King. And I think it's just so well written. It pretty much explains precisely the risks that esports are going through, but also the huge opportunities. Obviously, I can't too long. I didn't read this, but I just think that the writer, Matthew Ball, he does just a really, really good job of practically like explaining this is why esports is currently so big. And spoiler, it's because game developers want to sell games. And that's fine. That's totally fine. Sell all the games you want. Problem is, it's kind of running counterintuitive to what like actual esports is. Like there was a quote in the article that I read that I just loved. And he said, imagine if like the NBA, if it wasn't owned by the NBA or if it wasn't owned by the team owners or the players, but it was owned by Spalding, the people who made the balls. Eventually, there would be some rule that's introduced that basketball now has 3 balls. That's the rule. You now play with 3 balls. Because clearly, all you have to do is change the game and then you sell more balls, right? That's exactly what's happening with this modern age, like of esports. There are decisions happening within tournaments and within leagues that aren't for the health of the sport, that aren't for the health of the players, but it's for the health of just selling more skins and selling more stuff. So I just think it was a really, really fantastic article, and I think it kind of supports some of my claims that there are some esports that haven't changed in years, and that's why they're so good. Like CSGO, Smash Bros. Melee, Street Fighter 2, Dota, these games barely change in terms of their core like mechanics, and I think that's why it's so good. So there's my win. I highly suggest you guys read it. And are you ready for the fail? Because I bet you guys have heard of this fail. So my fail is this hilariously bad take about a streamer who was trying to convince people that they should just give her money because this is right.
I know this trick. Invader V.
Yeah, this was a bad take, man.
It's a bad one.
I mean, in terms of like trying to be like engaging and trying to like be the streamer that people love, right now this was really bad. And I just think it's my funny fail for the week because it has spawned so many imitators. I've seen so many parody streams in which people they recreate the exact same setup and they're sitting in the same spot. And then it's kind of like a modest proposal. People are using satire to explain like, oh yes, you should just give me all your money because if you can't afford subbing for $5, then you shouldn't even deserve this entertainment. Yada, yada, yada. So the whole thing I think was just an absolute catastrophe of branding and trying to relate with viewers. And I don't know. You're saying that you've seen this, Eric? You've seen this clip?
I haven't seen the clip. I know the streamer, though.
Okay, I'm going to play the clip. I'm just going to play the clip on stream. It's too good.
Or how much money you have. That's really the thing.
Oh, no, come on. I just want to load videos. Why must you do this, internet? Okay, so you know how we were saying that Valve...
Because I'm not asking you for a large financial contribution. If it cost $20 to sub... $20 is quite a bit of money. $20 is you can get a full meal for $20, and the difference of $20.
I can't hear any audio.
Oh, you can't? Well, don't worry, our viewers can.
That's where it is.
All right.
Anyways, so there you have it. That's like pretty much the bulk of it. She's trying to somehow explain how $20 is a lot of money. So she's not asking you to donate $20, just $5. It's very different. It's very, very different. So even if you don't have enough money for $20, come on, $5, you should be able to give me that.
It's like a fourth.
Yeah.
Of the money.
It is precisely a fourth.
What
And
a steal.
Look at the master of money did the math.
And like,
what
I
a
think
steal.
part of what
the math
master of
equation
money.
floating around my head. Carry the 2.
So like I think part of why I think this is such a fail, and kind of maybe we'll like end the episode of this, is like we're all stuck at home. We've all had to have our lives changed. Like everything's different, right? And while I appreciate the hustle of trying to make money online, I think a lot of people just responded very, very poorly to this. And if I want to put on my prediction hat, there's already been some like murmurings that like this situation is causing kind of like the death of influencers, or like this whole concept of like influencer culture, of celebrity culture. Like this stuff is happening more and more. People are getting more and more upset with the people with huge amounts of clouts doing stupid things. Actually, my fail should have been Ninja. Have you seen that clip of Ninja who flexed that he could buy the bank that owns this kid's house?
I was gonna make that mine. Yeah.
Oh my God, Nick. Okay, Nick,
Ninja.
please, can this be your take? Let me find the clip as you're describing it. Please, please, please.
Dude, that dude.
Ninja,
I mean,
man.
God, it's really easy to like kind of poke at Ninja. He's like the biggest like gamer in the world, like as far as North America goes, right? But
Yep.
I think it's really just kind of like the thing that's sort of disappointing. Before you play the clip here, I guess, is just that like I think you tweeted about it actually, that it was like nothing he said like in a vacuum was like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that word, how offensive. But it just like it really showcased a very out of touch nature, both with like the state of the world right now, but also just like in general, it's like, dude, like you're Ninja, like why do you care? Like, you know what I mean? Like that was kind of my thing.
And I think,
we're past the whole thing with Ninja being like, oh, can't believe how many viewers this guy. Like, we're past all that. Like, we don't care about that. So everything that he does, that like, even if it's like a little shitty, like, rise to the surface and stuff. So.
Well, I think, Eric, you said it best in that I think we've gotten past the point of caring about how many followers someone has. Like, that is, by the way, a whole different topic for a whole nother show, right? This whole concept of like maybe 5 years ago, everyone would bow down to the power of a high number of followers, but it's just like everything's changed. It's just not as important anymore. There's so many of these micro celebrities, these e-celebrities, these influencers. You have to ask yourself, who are they actually like influencing? This whole COVID situation has realized not many people, not many people are actually being influenced in terms of like major life decisions based on these people. So anyways, there's my fail. You can wrap up.
I also have a win if I could.
Oh yes, please.
If that's okay.
Yes.
Do you have that Ninja clip?
So I'm finding it. I'm trying to find it. So Nick, please give me your win.
Yeah.
Well, earlier we were talking about Cloud9 winning the LCS, and they beat FlyQuest, and I kind of made them an afterthought. I don't think that's fair. If from an organizational perspective, I mean, they finished 9th last summer. They got 2nd, so that's their first final. That's pretty cool. But even more important than that, this is something that they've been doing all year so far, and it's called Tree Quest. And based on how they perform in game, how many kills their players get, if they get the win or the loss, and also how many of the ocean-type dragons that they get on the map for their League of Legends games, they're actually planting trees. And by the end of the spring playoffs here, they accounted for, I think it was just about almost 10,000 trees planted. So really? they've kind of like turned rooting for them into sort of a Go Green initiative, which I think is a really cool, innovative like branding move, because they've been around for a while and they didn't really have much of an identity past that before. Yeah. But also I think it makes it impossible not to root for them, because if you root against FlyQuest, you're rooting against the environment practically. I mean, not really, but it's like it's something that we haven't seen.
It's a good move.
I haven't seen a lot of orgs do, and then we saw other teams who played against them get in on it. Like Evil Geniuses played them, and they did book quests. So then for every time they beat FlyQuest, they donated a bunch of books to a bunch of like underprivileged school districts. And so I wanted to just kind of, we've talked a lot about all the crazy happening. It was kind of a lighter note that I wanted to shout out FlyQuest instead of just saying, oh, by the way, they got swept earlier.
Hey man, I love it. So okay, here's the thing. I found the quote. Shoutouts to thegamer.com for having the article that has a quote. By the way, maybe like Ninja has incredible PR people, because I was literally searching. I can't find this clip. Do you? I don't know.
From the web.
I don't know. I can't find this clip. So here is the quote, and I'm going to do my best Ninja impersonation here. So, you know, like, yada, yada, yada. He's getting insulted, and he says, I could literally purchase the bank that your house is being loaned out to, your mortgage, and fucking foreclose your house. And then you can't talk shit to me because you won't have internet. That's what he said.
He's probably got like 3G. Go to like a Starbucks or something, right?
It's just insane, man. Like, oh my God. I think Nick Geracie said it best. He's out of touch. What an insanely out of touch comment to make.
Yeah.
What an insanely out of touch comment for that streamer to make about asking people for money. Yeah, let's just all go back to Animal Crossing. Let's just have a good old time. The internet's getting weird. So anyways, I guess, what are you guys going to be doing next week as we close the episode? Is there any cool esports things you guys are looking forward to or anything like that?
I'd like to try to invert this, actually. For the first time all year, LCS is, for the meantime, over. I have some time to look into some new esports. I'm trying to make this an opportunity to obviously get more into Valorant, but also, if there's cool esports that you think need more visibility or deserve more eyes, show me. I'd love to dive into a new game, a new competition. I love doing that. So
awesome.
Please. I know you asked what we were doing, but I'm like, no, anybody watching this, please send me things on Twitter. Just message me them. Like, I'd love to watch new content.
And you can message him at Nick Geracie. That's it. Yeah. That's a pretty good Twitter handle, you know? You got your name and everything. Nice.
Yeah.
And
I should just change mine to Eric Gindele. I know I can get it.
You could probably get it.
Yeah.
Eric, where can they follow you and what are you doing?
You can follow me at Winko Stainless on Twitter. You're not going to find much. It's basically just me retweeting Nick's tweets because he tells me to.
Why don't you post things? You can't do it. Anyways. Yep, and you can find me at Nick Geracie 3RD. There is this dude who has the @Dorazio, and he hasn't posted anything since 2017. He has like 1 follower, and he follows 2 people. Come on, Twitter. I want my name. Just please.
File a claim or something.
Oh, I've been trying to sue him for years. Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. Yeah. Worth.
Well, anyways, that has been our podcast, guys. You can actually check out more of our podcasts and more of our panels just on our YouTube channel. You can just go to youtube.com/Inven Global. Is that how that works? I assume it does. You can also just check out our website, www.invenglobal.com, and stay tuned. This Friday, we're having a Inven Global digital panel. We're going to feature all sorts of awesome guests and talk about esports content saturation, what to do, what not to do. So if you want to make content and you want to join us on this podcast, you should probably first start by listening to this panel. So anyways, guys, thank you so much. I look forward to talking to you guys next week. Nick, thank you so much for being our special guest.
Yeah, thank you. Seriously. Much appreciated. Glad to be on.
This is fun.
All right. Well, hey, guys. It's Nick Geracie signing out for Inven Global. See you later.
Bye, guys.